Welcome everyone. Today's virtual lecture is going to focus on different examples of SQL. This is building upon the earlier lectures where we've covered select from where and other high-level SQL topics. Today we're going to focus on 6 standard statements: create, insert, update, select, alter, and drop. These are the key statements that you're going to need to understand both to ensure proper usage in query reporting out of SQL, as well as to be able to read and modify SQL code moving forward. For the first example, we'll be looking at a movie database. Specifically, I wanted to target around, let's think about a movie database in terms of the Academy Awards and the different items that we'd be looking at. So from that perspective, I decided to focus on movies, the actors, and the casting. So from a movie perspective, breaking down into those 3 tables, I wanted to focus on the ID for the movie, the name for the movie, the year of its first release, the average of the votes that were cast for the film for the Academy Awards, as well as the number of votes cast. From an actor perspective, I wanted to focus on the actor name, and then for casting, I wanted to make sure that we were pulling which actors were cast in which movies. So if we're looking at that from a create table perspective, here's a sample of the SQL used for that. So if I want to do a create table movie, I'm going to be inserting the title, the year, the score, and the votes, identifying each of the data types. You do this within Microsoft Access through the wizard. Same with the second statement. If I'm doing a creating table actor, it's setting up both the primary key and the name. And if I'm creating the casting table, it's setting up both the actor information as well as the movie ID and actor ID. Moving on, if I was going to look at samples from insert statements, here's 2 that I like. One would be related to inserting data into the movie table, specifically around The Lion King. The Lion King, for the title, the movie released 2001, the average number of votes, and the total number of votes. Now please note here that I misspelled Lion King on purpose, and we'll come back to that. Same thing for the actor ID, where I've used a proper insert statement to insert the ID and the name, and again I've misspelled where it should be Simba, if you've seen the movie, to Sunda, and then inserting properly the casting information. Knowing that I did those 2 misspellings, let's go on and move to the update statement. So if I want to go in and change what I guess I had spelled Leon King as Lion King, this is how you do the SQL statement. I would do an update table movie set title equals Lion King, or ID equals 1. If I want to go through and change Simba to the proper spelling, I would use this update statement. And if I were looking at changing the casting set, this is how I would do that update statement. In previous virtual lectures, we looked at the select statement as well. So in this example, if I'm looking to select from this table of years, which year that Athens hosted the Olympic Games, the SQL would have both a select, from, and where. So from a select perspective, we would have the select the year from the games where city equals Athens. Or if I wanted to select the continents hosting the Olympics with a count of the number of games held. Again, using the table on the right, going year, city, and continent, I would just select continent and count the years from the games and group by continent. Now, moving on, if I want to use different functions, if I want to give the total GDP for Africa, I would use the sum function in order to pull that information from the table that we have above. Another would be, how many countries have an area of at least 1 million? I would be able to use the count feature, which was covered in previous virtual lectures, where the area is greater than or equal to 1 million. It's very simple, it's very straightforward. When you're looking at this solution from a SQL perspective, what you're going to need to do on exams is to be able to push this back and make it relevant to what the problem is from a matching perspective. Another example, what is the total population of France, Germany, and Spain? I will be using a sum to sum the population from the tables where the name equals France or Germany or Spain. Again, similarly from a function perspective, for each region, show the region and number of countries with populations of at least 10 million. So based off the data in the table below, I would be selecting the region and count from the BBC table where the population is greater than or equal to 1 million and group by region. It's giving me that, as we've shown in previous lectures, select the from, the where, and the conditions. Another reminder from a join perspective. What if I want to look at the games table and the cities table and find the year and country where the games took place? Since I don't have it in the same table, I'll be using a join statement. So from this perspective, I'll be using a select games and year, city and country from games, and then I'd be joining that to city on where the game city equals the city name. Similar example, if I'm using the database for albums and tracks, with album's ID, title, artist, price, etc. If I want to find the title and artist who recorded the song Allison, I need to do a join and an on. So if I'll be doing a select title and artist from the album and joining the track where the album ID and the track ID where the song equals Allison. Again, similar example, show the song for each track on the album Blur. Select song from the album, join the track on, where the IDs equals the track album, where the title equals Blur. What I'd recommend is going through this SQL. Now, don't worry about case. I didn't worry about case in terms of this exercise. It's just more to show you the order of the operations. We'll go into case in terms of what should be capitalized and what should not be capitalized on a future virtual lecture. I just wanted you to see this in terms of seeing if I'm pulling a piece of SQL for each album, show the title and the total number of tracks. I'd be looking at the select, I'd be looking at count, I'd be looking at from, I'd be looking at join, I'd be looking at on, and I'd be looking at group by. This is a great example of showing a number of different functions, keeping the construct of select, from, and where, allowing you to have a join from a union perspective, as well as a sorting of the conditions by a group by. Continuing on with the same example, if I want to, for each album, show the title and the total number of tracks containing the word heart. Let's take a look at how this SQL is mapped out. I'm going to be selecting the title. I'm going to be using the count with the asterisk to show count all from the album, where I'm going to be joining the track on the ID equaling the album where the song contains heart. You'll notice that there is a wildcard both at the beginning and the end of heart, and that wildcard is the percent sign. And that percent sign is going to be basically ensuring that whatever's at the beginning and the end of that it contains in its entirety the heart expression, and then it's going to be grouping by title. So this is going to show that for the movie Purple Rain, there is one song containing the word heart. For the movie What's the Story, Morning Glory, and so on. Another example, if I'm going to find the songs that appear on more than 2 albums and include a count of the number of times each shows up. You'll see I've got my select song and count, I'm using my join statement, I'm using my on, and I'm grouping by something having count. So you're able to add and mix in different commands and different functions. It's just all about the order that you're doing. So if I'm trying to pull information on a good value album as the one where the price per track is less than 50 cents. If I find the good value album, show the title, the price, and the number of tracks. Again, select the title, price, and count all from the album. I'm joining the tracks, and I'm grouping by. So going back to that original movie example, if I want to list the films in which Harrison Ford has appeared, I will select title from the movie. I will join casting where the movie ID and actor ID equals the select from an actor where the name equals Harrison Ford. It allows me to essentially go through and nest queries if need be. If I'm going to go through using the same example, list the films together with the leading star for all 1962 films. I'm selecting the title, the name of the movie, actor and casting, where the year equals 1962, and the order equals 1, and the movie ID, casting movie ID and actor movie ID is the same. Another good example. Which were the busiest years for John Travolta? Show the number of movies he made for each year. Again, don't get overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information. Just read it. So I'm looking from a select statement to select the year and the count from the movie. So I look at those first. I highlight, choose why you'll see it in all caps. I highlight the select from where. So I'm selecting year and count from the movie, and then we get into all of the conditions from the where. This is a great example because it's got a where, it's got an order by, it's got a count, it's got numerous counts, so it allows you to show just the processing power that you're going to get. Going through, if I want to list the 1978 films by order of cast list size. Again, fairly straightforward. I would recommend going back through the deck, looking at the problem and the solution, and understanding why it makes sense. If I'm getting into alter is going to take on a different perspective than when I go in an update. Because when I'm going to do an update, I'm updating the value. If I'm going to do an alter, I'm altering columns, I'm altering different integers, components, I'm dropping columns. So if I want to add, I can alter a table and add the actor age. I can alter the table and I can change the age. I can alter the table and I can drop a column. So it's when I'm making fundamental changes to the table. If I'm dropping, I'd be looking at doing something around dropping the entire movie. I don't recommend using the drop command. And again, when you're going through this, I didn't focus on the all caps. I didn't focus on those items. Typically, you're going to see the commands in an all cap perspective. Just make and understand what you're trying to do overall. Again, this is tips and tricks. I was going to say thanks and good luck on your exams, on your exam, but you're going to have a couple more of these virtual lectures before exam 2. Thank you.